I think this should be a lot better for us and also for the fans.
Aggressive has been a byword of yours on the road courses this season. The 2 wins came through total domination. We assume you'll go out and try to build the margin as quickly as possible?
Well, you know, you can never predict that. I'm gonna try if I can, but first I'll have to be in the lead. So that's always a question mark too. So we never really know until the race gets underway, and then we just have to take it from there.
Back to Bob Jenkins.
Thank you, Gary. Our other pit reporter today, a guy you normally associate with our NASCAR broadcasts, but this guy finished 4th in a race here on this course yesterday, an International Race of Champions, and he finds himself just 1 point behind the point leader in IROC, Neil Bonnet. Here from Ellerbe, North Carolina, a former Winston Cup champion, Benny Parsons.
Thank you very much, Bob Jenkins. I'm in the Skull Bandit pit of Teo Fabi. This is the last race for Teo. He has decided to go back to Europe and concentrate on Formula One racing. I have with me the crew chief on the Skull Bandit, Barry Green, who last year was the crew chief of the year in both kart and USAC racing. Barry, is there any word on who the driver is going to be to replace Teo?
Well, Benny, right now I can't say. There are 2 or 3 drivers that the Forsyths are talking to. The final decision will be made by them.
So in 2 weeks you run the Michigan 500. A decision has to be made fairly soon, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think they're going to be involved in some heavy meetings in the next day or 2.
Will there be a testing session for the new driver, or is he going to go to Michigan cold?
No, we'd like to do 1 test session. Unfortunately, we're short of 1 car at the moment, too, so we're just down to 1 car. Hopefully we'll have 2 together by Michigan, but we would like to get out for 1 day's testing.
I tell you, there's going to be a lot of drivers trying to get in this car because over the last couple of years, it's proven to be one of the fastest cars. Bob Jenkins, back to you.
Thank you, Benny. We look forward to your reports from the pit area today. Well, the Budweiser Cleveland Grand Prix is being brought to you by Pontiac. Test drive a new Pontiac at your Pontiac dealer because...
All the way to the end with the left turn off.
Air 2, Lake Erie Tower, 222 Alpha again, is with Kevin Harder.
222 Alpha Romeo, Lakefront Airport, 80 runway 24 right, wind 20015, altimeter 2979.
2979.
Car 2, proceed into the ramp. ESPN and card. This is Burke Lakefront Tower. The airport is now closed. You are cleared to race.
So the planes have been replaced with race cars, and we are set to go for the Cleveland Grand Prix as the cars begin to roll out of the pit area on the first of a couple of warm-up laps. This is a 220-mile, 360-kilometer race, 88 laps around this 2.48-mile road course. Well, let's look at the point standings in championship auto racing teams, the battle for the PPG Cup. Right now, Tom Sneva is leading the point standings with 76. Mario Andretti second with 50, followed by Al Unser Jr., the winner at Portland earlier this year. Then Jeff Brabham with 46, and Rick Mears with 44 points. Turn course. The start-finish line is in the middle of that short straightaway in which the pit area is also located, and they go down and make a hairpin into a long sweeping turn that we'll refer to as the kink. Then into turns 5 and 6 onto a middle stretch. Then they go into an area we call the back 40 that contains turns 7, 8, 9, and 10 down the front stretch, the fastest part of the race course. Then a quick chicane, turns 11 and 12, and into, once again, the front stretch. And we are looking from the back 40 right now. There is a description of the course: 12 turns, 8 right and 4 left turns. The front stretch 2,350 feet in length. The back stretch 1,600, and the middle stretch is 1,500 feet in length.
Unripened yellow car on the screen. That's what Gary Bettenhausen says, that it's not green, it's unripened yellow. Is Emerson Fittipaldi. Emerson, of course, out of the Formula One ranks as the field comes down past the grandstands in the pit area for the first time. The next time around, if everything is in order, we'll go green. Fittipaldi got into this car last week at the Meadowlands in the rain and looked very strong. He ended up finishing in 7th position. Emerson has qualified well up into the top 10 here this week, and this may be his best chance ever to shine in an Indianapolis car. There are not a whole lot of people who are saying he's a threat to win, but there are some. And if the combination falls in place, there's no question that Emerson Fittipaldi, 2-time World Formula One champion, has a shot.
Now the cars are moving through the kink. This actually is turn number 4. There's a very slight right-hander. They're on the gas real hard at this point on the track, but they're getting ready to hit the brakes real hard and downshift as they go out toward the lake and then turn south. Turn number 5, which is a short right-hander. There it is. The cars move through turn number 5 right now. Very short stretch before another turn number 6, in which they are going around right now, and then on to the middle stretch, which is 1,500 feet in length. And this is the area of the racetrack coming out of turn number 6 that most drivers have experienced problems this weekend.
Well, there and also 5 and 6, a lot of work gets done. I think the people feel as though, Bob, they can get a lot done right here on this 1,500-foot stretch, and they rush it a little bit through 5 and 6.
Off the middle stretch is turn number 7, which is a left-hand turn, then another short straightaway, and a turn number 8, and then a short stretch. This is the area referred to as the back 40, and then they turn south once again into turn number 9. This is at the far eastern end of the racetrack. See the pace car leading the field through turn number 9, now setting up for turn number 10. And after turn number 10, it's on to the front stretch, which is 2,350 feet in length. There they are, moving down the front stretch right now. And this is the area of the racetrack which they will use as the pit entrance. Those who wish to go into the pits will move high on the racetrack at this point and go into the pits. We'll talk about the pit entrance and exit a little bit more in detail later. The cars moving down the front stretch now. Again, speeds reach anywhere from 140 to 150, possibly 160 miles an hour at this point before they get on the brakes and downshift going into turn number 11 and 12. Turns 11 and 12 are very quick. It's more like a chicane than anything else. And here they are moving into turn number 11 right now, and then immediately into turn number 12 and on to the start-finish line. The pace car is still out on the racetrack, but he goes straight while the other cars turn to the left, and the Cleveland Budweiser Grand Prix is underway as the fireworks are set off at the end of the straightaway. Rahal and Andretti are battling for position as they go through the kink onto the backstretch. Bobby Rahal has the lead. As you can see, the other cars filing through the hairpin. Now Mario Andretti challenges on the inside going into turn 5, and Mario Andretti takes the lead away from Bobby Rahal. Now they're in turn number 6. They swing out of that turn onto the middle stretch. Bobby Rahal pursuing closely behind Mario Andretti. Now they turn north toward the lake once again in turn number 7. Now they're in turn number 8 into the back 40. Short straightaway, turning south now in turn number 9. Mario Andretti in car number 3 showing the way with Bobby Rahal right behind. This is turn number 10. It's on to the front stretch now as the speeds begin to pick up considerably. Rahal running in second position with Guerrero third. Here they are, flashing down the straightaway, now braking hard, getting ready for turns 11 and 12, and they are completing one lap. It's Andretti, followed by Bobby Rahal. Teo Fabi now in third place. Roberto Guerrero is fourth. Danny Sullivan is fifth. Emerson Fittipaldi is sixth. And in seventh position is Jeff Brabham.
It was a great start. Both Andretti and Rahal jockeying for position as they came out of turn number 12. It was pretty equal, and it's just a situation where Rahal got the shift about a split second ahead of Andretti. But Andretti has really turned on since those first couple of corners, and he has already streaked out to about a 50-yard lead already. And Michael Andretti, whom you're looking at there, he's also had a great start. He's already up to 9th position. Disappointing qualifying run.
Picked up 3 positions there in that first lap and a half. He started 12th, but now Michael Andretti, who crashed hard last weekend at the Meadowlands at the end of the race, is on the gas right now. Michael Andretti, car number 99, the Electrolux Graco March, running in 9th position. There's a good look at the young race driver from Nazareth, Pennsylvania. His father is leading this race, and right ahead of Michael Andretti is Al Unser Sr. in car number 1. Gordy Johncock is handling very badly coming off of turn number 10.
Well, Gordy has had one of those up-and-down type years. Of course, he had that crash at Indianapolis that set the program back a little while, but he was right back into the saddle for the very next race. Gordy has had problems at this racetrack in the past, but he's a fighter, and I'll tell you, he is staying right with it, and Gordy Johncock could still well be a factor before this race is over.
Mario Andretti continues to lead. He has completed 2 laps now. There is the lead he has already on Bobby Rahal. In second position, right behind Bobby Rahal is Teo Fabi, whom, as Benny Parsons mentioned, is competing in his last IndyCar race. Who will be the successor to Teo Fabi? Well, it could be Emerson Fittipaldi, it could be Kevin Kogan, it could be a number of drivers. They'll make the decision in the next 2 weeks before the Michigan 500. Danny Gaius in car number 25 is slowing on the race course, and as a matter of fact is off the course. He's pulled to an area off of the course near one of the safety trucks, and it looks like that Danny Gaius is going to be out of this race early. There he is.
Out in the back 40, I believe, Bob, and looked pretty terminal. Danny was not in any type of hurry at all to get to that safety patrol truck. So on Gaius, who has performed spectacularly, if not successfully, in the past on road courses, looks like he may be our first early out. Andretti, meanwhile, has developed over a 2-second lead on that duo. That's Bobby Rahal. He won here 2 years ago. And Teo Fabi, the most successful driver the last half of the season in 1983.
Now Teo Fabi is pulling up right on the rear wing of Bobby Rahal as they move through turn number 6 once again onto the middle stretch. Teo Fabi would like to pass Bobby Rahal and move into second place here in the early going and set out to pursue Mario Andretti, who has taken off like a shot in his Budweiser Lola. There is second and third position. Teo once again closing in turn number 9. Looks like that he's able to close in the turns, but Bobby Rahal has the perhaps better horsepower down the straightaway. So the leader is Mario Andretti. There he is, moving into turn number 11. Second is Bobby Rahal, and third is Teo Fabi. We'll be back with more live coverage in a moment from Cleveland, Ohio.
Of life into his body somehow.
Well, another guy who's having a tremendous year is Mario Andretti, and he is leading this Budweiser Cleveland Grand Prix. There he is, moving through turn number 6. He has opened up quite a distance between himself and Teo Fabi, who now runs in second position. Fabi was able to pass Bobby Rahal. Rahal is now third. Danny Sullivan is running in fourth position, and fifth is car number 9, driven by Roberto Guerrero.
A couple of the other people who have made a move. Kevin Kogan is up to 10th position, and Jacques Villeneuve is up to 16th. Villeneuve has passed Rich Mears in recent laps, and Jacques looks like he may be having one of his better races of the 1984 season here in kart.
Well, as we mentioned, Jacques did not qualify all that badly. He started last, but that's no reflection whatsoever of the qualifying speed and the effort that he had here earlier this weekend. Villeneuve was disqualified because of a bad rear wing, but added at promoter's option. Let's go down to Benny Parsons, who has an explanation on why Danny Gaius is out of the race. Benny?
Thank you very much, Bob Jenkins. I have been in contact with Drano Miller, the crew chief on Gaius' car, and he reports that a gearbox has broken, and Danny is unable to even get the car back to the pits. So Danny Gaius' problems just they continue on. Gary Lee has another report from the pits. Gary?
Benny, I'm standing down here in the Mario Andretti pit. We're looking at a replay of last week at the Meadowlands. Andretti wants to win, but he also wants to lead every lap. Last week, 1 week ago, he led every lap. In fact, did not even lose the lead on his first pit stop. Right now, they're looking to pit about lap 26, and Andretti wants to lead large enough he can come in, take on the field, change the tires, and go out and still maintain first place. Bob?
All right, we'll look for those pit stops, as you indicated, Gary, around lap 26. Now, this is an 88-lap race, so we'll probably see 3 pit stops, possibly 4 by these guys, if there are no overall yellows. And that's one thing we should mention at this early stage. Only in case of a bad accident in which a lot of wreckers or a lot of emergency vehicles are on the track will the course go completely yellow. Otherwise, there will be just local yellows in which cars are not permitted to pass in a particular area of the racetrack. Teo Fabi is running in second position here. There is Bobby Rahal being pursued closely by Danny Sullivan in the Domino's Pizza Hut one. Sullivan running in fourth, and it looks like he's closing in on Bobby Rahal.
Danny Sullivan in the red Domino's Pizza, red, white, and blue Domino's Pizza car. That's the other Lola. Now watch him move in on Rahal. Boy, this could be real tight just on this lap alone. That's turn 5, turn 6, and now headed for a 1,500-foot straightaway. And Rahal seems to have just a little bit of power coming out of turn number 6. Now they're headed for the back 40. This is essentially a box. The course is the shape of a box on the far east end of the speedway. Now they're running right up along the lake, going due east. Now we're going to turn to the right and come due south toward downtown Cleveland. There's Sullivan trying to put the pressure on Rahal. Turn to the right again. Now we're headed due west down the long front stretch, and Sullivan trying to get up underneath Rahal's slipstream. We'll have enough time.
Inside goes Danny Sullivan. Will he outbreak Bobby Rahal into 11? Yes, Danny Sullivan moves into third place. Rahal drops back to fourth, and now watch the Lola of Danny Sullivan set off for Teo Fabi, who is running in second position. Danny Sullivan, last year on the Formula One circuit, he is chasing a guy that wants to go back to Formula One, namely Teo Fabi. And we have a spin. That's Fabi that is spun right in front of Danny Sullivan. So Teo Fabi spins in the hairpin and is sitting hopelessly stalled outside of the race cars.
Oh, Bob, a major disappointment for that driver. He really wanted to do well here. This figures to be his last ever, at least for the 1984 season, American appearance. And if there was any suggestion that Teo wasn't perhaps as stimulated as he should have been as an American race driver, he put the end to that today because he was charging. Teo was having a good day. He had moved up to second, and Teo, you can see him sitting there very disappointed in what has happened. There were no other cars around him. It looks like it just got away, and the field is moving by. The leaders are about halfway around in this one, and Fabi is in jeopardy of losing at least one lap and probably whatever chance he had at winning this race.
There is one of the kart safety vehicles that has arrived at the Teo Fabi spin-out and will tow him off of the race course and possibly get him back under power so he can compete in this race. But there is the leader, Mario Andretti, and Mario Andretti puts a lap on Teo Fabi.
Mario Andretti, the leader there, was one of the first 7 cars that qualified in this race, every one of which the driver had Formula One experience. The international flavor, the international contingent really made itself known here this weekend at Cleveland. The first 7 qualifiers, every one of them with some Formula One experience. Of course, Mario and Emerson, both former world champions in Formula One. And as we speak, by the way, sad to report for Al Unser Senior fans that he has pulled into the pits. And there's the battle for 7th and 8th, Bob.
And it involves Jeff Brabham in car number 17 and Kevin Cogan in number 98. Cogan driving the Pontiac powered vehicle built by Dan Gurney, the red and white car. And Kevin got out of shape just a little bit there, turning into turn number 6, but he hangs on and sets out to try to pass Jeff Brabham in car number 17. Well, there is a Formula One race going on today in Dallas. We'll keep you abreast of what's going on there so you can continue to stay with us here at the IndyCar race in Cleveland. KK Rosberg is leading in Dallas right now, and it looks like that KK's car is performing very well. He may be on his way to his first victory in a while, and the first for the Honda engine.
We saw a quick shot of the drivers battling right now for 7th and 8th in order of Derek Daly and Kevin Cogan. Bob, both of them almost out of shape on that last lap. They are going at it tooth and nail. There is some real husky, professional Indianapolis-type car racing going on between Daly and Cogan right now.
Jeff Brabham, Derek Daly in car number 17 leading the number 98 car of Kevin Cogan. Ari Leyendijk won a race here earlier today in Super V competition, and there is speculation that perhaps Leyendijk may be joining Derek Daly's team for the Elkhart Lake race, which is coming up the first part of August.
Mario Andretti, incidentally, is running about 3 seconds behind what he qualified in, and that's a faster pace than what we are normally accustomed to in IndyCar racing, although not faster than what we expected from Andretti here this week. He and Sullivan were both very fast on full loads of fuel, as was Roberto Guerrero earlier this this week on the full load of fuel testing sessions yesterday. So Andretti has really picked up, that's Mario Andretti, has really picked up where he left off last week. And again, here is Derek Daly in the bright yellow Provimi Bio car, and Kevin Cogan, the pride and joy of the stock blockers, in the metallic candy apple red and white Mike Curve Dubonnet record special.
And again, we're watching the battle for 7th and 8th position. Right now, Derek Daly has 7th, but Kevin Cogan, who started 17th, is moving up quickly, and he is currently running in 8th position.
Now we will go to about lap 28 to 30 before we have the first set of pit stops. Everybody who's running up front shooting for around 2 miles per gallon. We are just now completing lap number 13, so we're about a halfway to the first segment of pit stops. And Andretti has opened up almost, can you believe this, a half a lap lead, at least a quarter of a lap lead on the rest of the field.
The Lolas are running 1st and 2nd at Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland. That's the way they finished at the Meadowlands last week. Ray Hall is 3rd, Roberto Guerrero 4th, Fittipaldi 5th. We'll be right back. Back to the Cleveland Budweiser Grand Prix for IndyCars. 220 miles, 88 laps on this 2.48-mile road course made out of the taxiways and runways of Burke Lakefront Airport. There's your leader, Mario Andretti. He's opened up a tremendous advantage over second place, Danny Sullivan. Mario Andretti is moving that Lola well. Here he is in turn number 6 onto the middle stretch. Led all the way so far. Bobby, by the way, who spun a few laps ago and who was running in second position at that time, has gotten restarted and is back on the course, but he's a lap down. Here is Rick Mears, who started this race in 23rd position. He's not moving up all that quickly, Larry.
No, he's not moving up as fast as we thought that he might be. He has improved his position significantly, and now Rick runs in 15th position on the course. He's not made that big charge that maybe a lot of people would have expected. But Bob, on the other hand, we have seen the wily, crafty Rick Mears win a lot of races, even here on ESPN, in recent years with this very technique. He's a very heady race driver. He's won many times in the road courses. I remember one race in particular at Riverside where he just didn't seem like he was a factor until we had about a quarter of the race to go, and all of a sudden, there was Rick Mears after a couple of very well-executed pit stops by the Penske team in a position to win, and he capitalized on it.
Rick Mears, of course, the winner of the Indianapolis 500 this year. He finished second at Milwaukee. That was one of the most exciting finishes that we have had the honor to telecast for you on ESPN, as Rick Mears had the race in hand at Milwaukee earlier this year, but his car failed on the final lap in the 4th turn. Tom Sneva went on to capture that race at Milwaukee. Rick Mears from Bakersfield, California, 5th in the kart point standings at this time.
Rick, of course, is a man who has won the championship for this division. He's been at the top of his profession now for about 3 or 4 years. He never really expected this thing to happen, this thing called being a success in IndyCar racing. As he goes around the other stock block in this race, Steve Chassis, man who graduated from the sprint car rank. Rick is currently ranked 5th in the PPG kart point standings. The number on the car, 6, represents where he finished a year ago. The average speed of the race up to this point, a rousing 120 miles per hour. And that's the speed that we expected to see in qualifying, not for an average speed for the race. But Mario Andretti is setting, as he did a week ago, a blistering pace. And by the way, Andretti does not have quite the lead that we suggested that he did when we went to commercial. Sullivan has made up a little bit of ground in traffic, and he is really only about 200 yards behind. And Sullivan and Andretti have not really shaken Ray Hall either.
Jose Garza and Gordon Johncock battling for positions out on the race course. Jose Garza in car number 55, the Machinist Union, and Gordy Johncock, who, of course, grew up on the ovals, and road racing was somewhat of a different type of racing with him, but Gordy has performed very well on the road courses this year. Johncock now right behind Jose Garza in the King.
Now, Jose, there he is in the upper right-hand corner, representing the country of Mexico, of course. I think people perhaps thought that things might happen more quickly. As now we go back and look at Gordy Johncock, people thought things might happen more quickly for Jose Le Garza. He had that spectacular rookie season in IndyCar racing. He was named the Rookie of the Year at Indianapolis. He led a few laps. The program hasn't exactly stalled, but it's not been as easy the last couple of seasons for Jose Le. See them listed there in 15th and 16th position as it was that initial year. But he has commented on a number of occasions that he has took. He likes IndyCar racing. He's here for the long haul. He's going to stick it out. He's looking forward to a long career. Jose Le, a little stronger perhaps on the road courses. That's where he cut his eye teeth than he is on the ovals. The man who has shown a lot of perseverance. He's stuck it out, and he makes every race on the trail.
Well, Jose Le has gained 3 positions, while Gordon Johncock has lost some positions. Garza started 18th, is now 15th, while Gordon Johncock started 11th in this race and is now back to 16th position. Gordon Johncock had a very good first qualifying day last Friday. They qualified on Friday and Saturday, and after the first qualifying session, Gordy was 5th quickest, but couldn't duplicate that on Saturday. Here is Danny Sullivan in car number 30, running in 2nd position. Let's go to Gary Lee in the pit area.
Well, Bob, Larry, we've been giving a lot of attention to Mario Andretti, but I think right now the best drive is being turned in by Danny Sullivan. We saw Danny last week qualify poorly for the Meadowlands race. He started in the middle of the pack, drove nicely through traffic, showing some great expertise in traffic driving to finish 2nd. Right now he's closing in on Andretti. He started 5th today, but rides in 2nd. A good ride turned in by the Lola of Danny Sullivan.
Well, Gary, we're showing up here that Sullivan, particularly when he and Andretti are both in traffic, is moving in at a rate on some laps as much as a second a lap on Andretti. Is there much conversation on pit road about Sullivan's drive toward the front?
Right now, the crew members are standing by just watching the action. A few have the stopwatches keeping lap times, but there is no excitement. In fact, no expression whatsoever to pass along from the pit area down here.
Well, let's talk about this rush to a March chassis that everybody had going into the 1984 season. And we have seen the tremendous success of the Lolas on a road course. Do you think that perhaps next year the major teams are going to buy a March for the ovals and a Lola for the road course?
Well, Bob, I think it's something that you have to start considering at this point. I would imagine that the expense would be even greater to have 2 different types of race cars in your stable, even though that there are oval marches and road course marches, but it has to be something you must start to consider. Then again, how quick are these Lolas going to be on an oval? You know, we haven't been to a high-speed oval like Indianapolis or Michigan since Sullivan and Andretti really got the Lola program together. We may find when we get to Michigan that these things are even the fastest cars on an oval. So we'll have to really go through this season, see exactly how well the Lolas perform on balance over the course of the entire series, to see just exactly what some of the top teams will want to consider going into next year.
Well, no question, they dominated the race last weekend at the Meadowlands. That was on a race course that was built in the parking lot between Brendan Byrne Arena and the Giant Stadium.
There's Jeff Brabham. He's had a good year, particularly on the road courses. Jeff finished 2nd at Long Beach, 2nd at Portland, and 3rd last week in the Meadowlands. So Brabham, if this whole series had been on the road courses, would probably be 2nd in point standings right now to Tom Sneva.
Keeping you updated on the situation in Dallas, Alain Prost and the McLaren has taken over the lead, and we will continue to keep you updated on that situation as the Formula One teams complete their swing in the Western Hemisphere and head back to Europe after today. They're running in the Dallas Grand Prix today.
Bob, I got to tell you, I can hope that little Frenchman, Prost, finally wins the World Championship. He has been so close for the last 3 years in a row, and the championship has gone to somebody else each time. And Prost, I think, among all those who have never won a World Championship, is probably the most deserving. It'd be nice to see him sneak one in here in the 84 season.
20 laps have been completed, and the average speed 120.812. Jeff Brabham is among those that thinks that Mario Andretti is a tough race driver.
driver to beat on a road course is Mario and the Lola. But what's the key there? He was so superb last week at the Meadowlands, and of course at Long Beach, he had everybody covered.
Well, I think the Lola has proven to be a better car than the March on the road courses. I think primarily because I think their suspension geometry is better than ours. I think the March cars are good on the ovals, where the aerodynamics of the car are fairly good. But I think the Lolas, they just turn in a little bit better in the slow corners, and they put their power down very well. And the Marches just seem to be a little bit behind in that area at the moment. Hopefully that the teams can turn that around. But at the moment, Mario and Danny Sullivan, I think, are going to be hard to beat.
Well, Jeff certainly called that one right, as he right now is running in 12th position here in this race in his March, while the Lolas of Andretti and Danny Sullivan are running up front first and second.
The other thing that has happened is that the first 5 cars have really put some distance between themselves and the rest of the field. There is the leader, Andretti, right now moving through the back 40. Sullivan runs second within striking distance. Ray Hall is maybe 3-4 football fields back. Then comes Roberto Guerrero, and 5th place is Fittipaldi. And then probably as many as 30 seconds back, we run into the 6th running Derek Daly. 7th is Michael Andretti. 8th is Kevin Cogan. And 9th is a closing Jacques Villeneuve. Jacques Villeneuve is really rising to the top here. He is having a terrific race.
And the 10th position is the number 40 car driven by Chip Ganassi. So there are your top 10 as we've completed 21 out of 88 laps here at Cleveland. Well, we're happy you could join us on this beautiful Sunday afternoon on the lakefront at Cleveland, Ohio, for the running of the Budweiser Grand Prix. We'll be back in a moment. Are up front. Mario Andretti is the leader. Running in 2nd position is Danny Sullivan. 3rd, Bobby Rahal. 4th, Roberto Guerrero. And 5th is Emerson Fittipaldi. The 6th place is held down by Derek Daly. Kevin Cogan is 7th. Michael Andretti is 8th. Jacques Villeneuve in 9th. And Chip Ganassi is running in 10th position. The interval between 1st and 2nd is 3.5 seconds, and Chip Ganassi, 10th place, just spun, but is back under power.
Well, he was having a good day. He was very optimistic also. Boy, did he put a spin on, but 1.360, he got it back, and then he went around again. He had it hooked up again, but he overcorrected for the 2nd time. Bobby was very optimistic coming into the day's race. Ganassi had a good practice session all week long, and now he's in jeopardy of losing a lap to Mario Andretti. I don't think that Chip lost the position. He was running by himself on the track before that incident happened, and he did gather her back up without stalling it, but he spun twice and was able to keep going. And that right there, he's going to have no such trouble. By the way, in the tradition of this 4th of July week, the fireworks are just about ready to begin in the pit area. We are working on lap number 25. Within the next 3 to 5 laps, pit stop will begin.
It's a lot different than it was a year ago when the drivers were coming into the pit area, and most importantly, besides getting fuel and new tires, was getting cooled off because the heat was tremendous here and the humidity was high too. But that is not the way it is here today, as we have a nice breeze, the temperature in the 70s, and bright sunshine.
It gives the race an altogether different complexion too, Bob. A couple of factors. One, the conditions are so conducive to auto racing, it's going to make you go faster anyway. And then you've got Andretti and this guy, the number 30 car of Danny Sullivan, setting such a fast pace, it puts an entirely different picture onto this race. Last year, you had to pace yourself to be competitive, but this year, you get the feeling if you're running anywhere other than 1st or 2nd, well, you're going to be running flat out right now to have any shot at all.
Danny Sullivan is closing in on Mario Andretti. He has reduced the interval between himself and Andretti by about 0.2 of a second in that lap. So Danny Sullivan is closing in on the leader, Mario Andretti. There is Sullivan in the backstretch, or the kink portion, as Emerson Fittipaldi in car number 82 among the first to make a pit stop.
Well, Emerson has come in. It could be a routine pit stop. Now, if indeed it is, he is going to be cutting it very close on the back end of this race to completing this race on just 2 pit stops. A lot of the top teams hope that they could do it in 2 stops. And Fittipaldi has come in on lap number 25. That means he'd have have to come in again on lap number 50, and he'd have to get 30-some-odd laps out of his final pit stop, and you don't figure to be able to do that. So Fittipaldi either came in because he was unhappy with the setup of the race car, maybe they're getting spectacular fuel mileage and they're trying to fool everybody else, or maybe they're not getting good fuel mileage at all, and he's in trouble on the back end of this 88-lap race.
Emerson Fittipaldi has finished in the top 10 twice this year. He was 5th at Long Beach in the first race of the year, and he was 7th last weekend at the Meadowlands.
There's been a great race going on for 7th, 8th, and 9th. There's the 7th place car. Make that the 6th place car of Derek Daly, and with Fittipaldi pitting, let me correct myself again. Now they're 5th, and there is Jacques Villeneuve right behind him. Villeneuve has moved from dead last in the grid. He now runs in 7th position behind Kogan and Derek Daly. There's Derek Daly, and Kogan's going to make a move on the inside of Daly, coming down the 2,200-foot front stretch. Will he have enough time going in the chicane? He's in the right position. Here they come through, and it's Kogan, followed by Villeneuve, and Derek Daly has come into the pit.
Derek Daly is pitting in car number 17. He screeches to a halt, and the crew goes to work. They're changing rubber on the right side of the car, and of course putting 40 more gallons of fuel in that car. As Derek sits patiently waiting for the crew to do its job. Fuel is being put in. There it's topped off. The car goes down off the jack, and Derek Daly has an 18-second pit stop and is back in the race.
Well, Daly, too, has really been coming on as we look at Teo Fabi. Right now, there's Jacques Villeneuve working on Fabi. Remember, Fabi is probably running about as fast as the rest of these guys, but he's at least one lap down because he's spun coming out of turn number 3, leading onto the backstretch. So Fabi figures to be a tough guy to get around. There'll be no move-over flag at this particular point in the race with that particular duo. So Villeneuve is going to get a real test right now to see how fast he really is running. But Jacques is going to be smiling in the cockpit. Without a doubt, his finest performance in an Indianapolis car since turning kart in 1984.
I think it was just a matter of time before this young race driver from Canada began to show his stuff. Of course, he had a terrible accident at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway that kept him from competing as we watched Kevin Kogan cross the start-finish line, followed by Teo Fabi. Kevin Kogan running in 6th position and Jacques Villeneuve in 7th right now. Villeneuve, so far this year, has finished 6th at Long Beach and also had a 6th place finish in Portland. There he is in the Canadian Tire March. Jacques Villeneuve, as we once again zero in on Teo Fabi, who did lose a lap, but Danny Sullivan, the 2nd place car, is in the pit.
At this point, every pit stop is going to be very critical for this man today, chasing Mario Andretti. They'll want to have at least as good a pit stop as the Carl Haas crew does when Andretti eventually comes in. So far, everything's very routine. They change right side rubber. They go to the left side. Of course, you turn both right and left on this course, and right behind him, there's the other Lola Bob.
Mario Andretti, and the question is, who will get out first? Mario is away, and it's a race toward the pit exit. Mario Andretti wins the race as Al Unser Jr. is up against the guardrail out by the lake. I don't think he hit anything. He has just simply stopped outside or off of the race course near the retaining wall that separates the airport from Lake Erie.
Well, when they take the steering wheel off and toss it on the nose of the car, that's normally a pretty good sign that the driver is aware of something that if the radio is out, the crew is not aware of, and that is that it is a criminal situation. Al Unser Jr., who on Father's Day won his very first IndyCar race, will not win here today. There's Jeff Brabham, another one of our top 10 drivers, as well as, at this point, a remote threat for victory, but nonetheless a threat for victory. Really strong on the road course. 2 seconds and a third, remember.
He has run very well on the road courses this year. The crew is changing rubber on the left side of the car now. Looks like the fuel has been topped off. They may have a problem with the left front tire as work continues to be done on that. While everybody has made a pit stop, Bobby Rahal is not, and Rahal is in the lead right now, but he'll be coming in for a stop in just a few moments, we're sure.
Well, it's an interesting situation, and Villeneuve has lost a right or left front tire. Jacques Villeneuve, who was having such a great day, there's been an error in the pit, and Villeneuve is losing valuable ground. He's back out on the backstretch. Bob, he's got at least a mile and a half to go at that speed to get all the way around to the pit area. Not only is he losing ground, but it's also probably doing some damage to the suspension and the underneath of that race car.
Tough luck for a driver who had come from back in the starting field, in fact, 28th position to 7th. But Jacques Villeneuve just made a pit stop, and very possibly the crew did not get the left front tire on properly, and it came off not too far out of the pit area. So Jacques is having to make this lap on 3 wheels, but he looks like he is going to make it to the pit area.
Yeah, doing an excellent job, I might also add, of signaling the drivers behind him. Every time he gets onto a straightaway where he knows he's going to be running slower than the rest of the cars, he is signaling the people behind him. Jacques, a great job.
There is Chip Ganassi in for a stop. Chip spun a few laps ago, in for a routine stop now. Fuel being put in. Chip throws away the water bottle. He's getting set now to pull back into competition. The tires are on the race course once again and moving. There is your leader, Bobby Rahal, headed for turn number 7 now. North toward the lake into turn number 8, now headed east toward turn 9. And Bobby Rahal could very possibly come in for a stop this time. He is the leader of the race, but he is not pitted. All of the other leaders have come in for their first routine pit stop.
Bob, this is a very interesting situation for Rahal, staying out longer than all the other leaders. And as we're watching Rahal, incidentally, Michael Andretti has come into the pit. But Rahal has had fueling problems in races past.
Rahal is in the pits, and let's go to Benny Parsons to call the pit stop. Benny?
Well, evidently, Bobby Rahal and his crew has done something for their fuel because he's got extremely good mileage. He's in, the car is up. It looks like they're changing 4 tires on the car. He came just a little bit too far. They're just changing 3 tires, it looks like. The right rear and the left side. The car is full of fuel. The tires, and he's away. Back to you, Bob and Larry.
Thank you, Benny. Good stop for Bobby Rahal. He's back on the course.
A superb pit stop because he's still the leader. Andretti goes by the start-finish line. Rahal comes out of the pit. Mario will be the first red car behind Bobby. Bobby still working up the speed. Andretti at racing speed. He pulls out of the kink. He goes down the long backstretch. A terrific pit stop for the Ohioan. He really gets out in fine fashion. He holds on to the lead.
And he's got a pretty good lead, as a matter of fact. We'll get a stopwatch on them next time around. But Bobby Rahal has made an excellent pit stop and has been able to hold on to the lead. Bobby Rahal has 3 IndyCar wins. There is Mario Andretti in second position. Rahal with 3 IndyCar wins, and 2 of them have been on a road course. He won his first IndyCar race right here at Burke Lakefront Airport 2 years ago. Also has victories at Riverside, California on the road course. His oval victory came at Michigan International Speedway. Well, Al Unser Jr., who we saw a few minutes ago with his car stalled out against the guardrail, they understand that the engine locked up on that car. Tough luck for the guy who won at Portland, his first IndyCar victory earlier this year.
Bobby Rahal. Sponsor 7-Eleven. Rahal has finished in either 7th, 11th, how about that, or 14th, which happens to be 2 7s in every one of his IndyCar races. Bob Peitzer and Associates, a PR company up in Chicago, suggested that perhaps, as we look at the interval between first and second place, Mario Andretti, that perhaps we should call Bobby Rahal sponsor this week the 7-1-1 special. So instead of finishing in a multiple of 7th as far as his finishing position, maybe Rahal could finish first. So there is Bobby Rahal in the 7-1-1 special, trying to break that skein of 7 and 11 finishes.
Now his interval, the lead he has on Mario Andretti, and there it is. It's just about the length of the middle stretch, or 1,500 feet. It's 5.5 second lead for Bobby Rahal over Mario Andretti. Troubles for Tom Gloy. Here's Gary Lee.
The second car in the Rick Gallen stable back in. They went out after 1 pit stop, made 1 lap. Tom Gloy came back in. Right now they're working on what appears to be the spark box. We're in line behind one of the crew members. We can't see exactly what they're doing as they took the fiberglass cowling off this part, going to work on the engine compartment. So apparently there was some problem with the ignition on car 77.
So the helpless Tom Gloy just sits there drinking water and hoping to get back in the competition, while Bobby Rahal leads with the average speed of 120.540 miles an hour. The top 5 at this point show Bobby Rahal leading, Mario Andretti second, Danny Sullivan third, fourth Guerrero, and fifth Fittipaldi. of the race. Transmission problems, that is the cause of his problem. And here's how it happened in the North 40.
Bobby Rahal coming around turns 8, 9. He simply pulls to the outside of the racetrack. Suddenly the car will not go in gear, will not perform. There's Danny Sullivan going by. Sullivan knows that this has been given to him at this moment, although Danny, certainly as well as Bobby, were the two drivers, along with Mario Andretti, who really deserved to win this race. Dejection, to say the least, in the pit area. The radios are working. Bobby has told the crew what has happened, and now they have nothing to do except sit here, wait for the final laps of this race to unfold, and go out and retrieve their broken race car. They're very disappointed, and Bobby throws his hands up in response to the crowd. And, you know, Bob, about a year ago, Benny Parsons described this moment as feeling like your dog died, and Bobby Rahal is having one of those moments.
Yeah, Bobby has taken off the helmet now and has signaled the appreciation to the race fans who are cheering him. Bobby Rahal was looking real strong here this afternoon and was on his way to victory, but transmission problems have put him on the sidelines, and now Danny Sullivan inherits the lead with 4 laps to go.
You know, not only does Bobby Rahal feel like his dog just died, because it did. That race car died. But for the fans here in the Cleveland Grand Prix, they're packing up their coolers, they're going home, and they're going to come back next year and hopefully going to see a race just as exciting. It was exciting, folks.
Well, Bobby Rahal will win other races on the IndyCar series. There is no question about that. But boy, when you've got victory so near and you're looking so strong, it has to be a rejection not only for you but for the pit crew members who we saw there just a few minutes ago, to see it all go away with just a few laps to go. But Danny Sullivan's crew, on the other hand, is standing by with fingers crossed, hoping that Lola can complete the next 4 laps and come home a victor. And for Danny Sullivan, it will be his very first IndyCar win, and there is his crew watching the race course and hoping that the last 4 laps will go quickly.
And not to diminish Danny Sullivan's win either, it was sort of difficult to not get a little down about what happened to Rahal, but boy, talk about another crew and team that is deserving to win. Doug Shearson has brought a lot of class and sophistication to IndyCar racing. I think we described him as one of the new wave of owners that actually entered into big-time racing to make a profit, to have a team that was substantial, but not one that was necessarily turning red ink all the time. Doug has brought a very well-organized team to IndyCar racing. I don't know if he's really made that profit, but he's brought nice sponsors. The cars always look terrific. It really is one of the finest teams on the trail, and I'll tell you, there are certainly no more deserving victors than the Doug Shearson Domino Racing team. And Danny Sullivan looking for victory number 1. Chip Ganassi, by the way, now runs in 2nd place. And that's a great day for Ganassi, but here's Sullivan coming down to complete yet another lap, and a lot of folks probably hoping that this is going to be victory number 1, not only for this team, but also this driver in IndyCar racing.
2 laps to go, and the Doug Shearson team, of course, came to Indianapolis this year with their own chassis, the DSR, Doug Shearson Racing, and the chassis simply did not perform. So before the second weekend of qualifying, Shearson purchases a brand new Lola for Danny Sullivan. Sullivan in the Indianapolis 500 finished in 29th position. He was involved in an incident which was a result of the Pat Bedard accident. There, by the way, is Chip Ganassi running in 2nd position. But Danny Sullivan, besides last weekend's 2nd place finish at the Meadowlands, has only had 1 top 10. That was at Phoenix in the first race of the year. Sullivan, however, looking as if he could win this 220-mile, 360-kilometer race in Cleveland.
For Ganassi, by the way, he has never finished 2nd in an IndyCar race. He's had a couple of 3rd places. They took place last year, so this would not only be obviously the best finish in the career of Danny Sullivan as far as his IndyCar career goes, but the best finish also for Chip Ganassi. So a couple of special moments coming up hopefully real shortly. We're looking at white flag this time around for the leader, Danny Sullivan.
And there is the white flag from Nick Finoro, the chief starter for championship auto racing teams. And Danny Sullivan is on his last lap, 2.4 miles to go. Here is Danny Sullivan now downshifting for the hairpin. Through it nicely. Now accelerating onto the sweeping right-hand turn that we refer to as the kink. Speeds reaching high here as he sets up for turn number 5. out by Lake Erie, and the people who have gathered on their pleasure boats to watch the race here this afternoon. Now he's through turn number 6, headed for the 1,500-foot middle stretch.
This could be 2 in a row for the Lola chassis. Remember, they won the last race in the trail at Meadowlands. The Lola, has it arrived? You betcha.
Sullivan now in the North 40, about to negotiate turn number 9, headed south toward the city of Detroit, or rather Cleveland, for just a brief moment. Now turning toward the west in turn number 10. He's on the front stretch, 2,350 feet long.
He can almost coast from here, Bob.
Danny Sullivan is very close to victory. Now in turns 11 and 12, on to the straightaway, takes the checkered flag. Danny Sullivan from Louisville, Kentucky, wins the Cleveland Budweiser Grand Prix.
Now we turn our attention to Chip Ganassi. Not quite as exciting to finish second as first, but nonetheless, big moment for this young driver from Pittsburgh. Chip Ganassi, if there is a home track for him, it would probably be Cleveland. He's not all that far from home. Looking to the east now, waiting for Ganassi as we watch Danny Sullivan take his victory lap. There's Chip still well out on the course. You can see him just now going down the backstretch. Bob, he's got about 2/3 of a lap to go yet.
Chip Ganassi, though, if he is able to cross the start-finish line, is going to end up in second position. There is the winner, though, Danny Sullivan in the Domino's Pizza Hot One with hand in air. Recognizing the applause he's receiving from the race fans, Sullivan wins in Cleveland. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Danny Sullivan wins in Cleveland, Ohio. Gary Lee in victory lane.
Oh, lovely. I suggest you guys get over on the thing.
Gary Lee is standing by as Danny Sullivan takes a big, refreshing drink after having endured the 2.5-mile course here in Cleveland and winning the race here again, Gary Lee.
A cold towel around the neck, some ice water. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It was a long, tough race, and I was lucky to have a couple of breaks, and I got to thank my crew for the good job they did, and Domino's Pizza for all the backing.
You had a rabbit to chase out there in Bobby Rahal. Your thoughts when he went off the course?
Well, I had a rabbit in Mario first. I thought he was leading, and then when, Bobby, I saw that he was in the lead, and I tried to catch him, and he was real tough, and I don't know if I would have made it at the end, but luck was on us today, and I'm sorry for Bobby and all his team.
Second last week, first this week. Congratulations on the first ever victory in the Champ Cars.
Thank you very much. It feels great.
Big smile from the guy from Louisville, Danny Sullivan.
Average speed of the race, 118.734 miles an hour. And Larry, this is the 6th different winner in 7 races this year on the PPG IndyCar World Series.
And it's always nice to have a new winner, and as you pointed out, we had the same phenomenon occurring last year. Lots of different winners the early part of the race, and that's a long ways from waiting tables in a restaurant in New York City for Danny Sullivan to victory lane here at Cleveland.
Bobby Rahal unfortunately dropped out of the race late while leading. We'll be back with Talk to him in just a moment. Once again, winning here in Cleveland this afternoon, Danny Sullivan. The stalled race car of Bobby Rahal tells the story. He was leading, but transmission problems forced him out with about 5 laps to go. Benny Parsons is with Bobby Rahal.
Bobby Rahal, it looked like today victory was for sure. But with just a few laps to go, something happened. What was the story?
Well, it was running great, and Danny and I were having a bit of a go. I'm sure it was exciting where I was, and I came out of a corner, and all of a sudden I got this really strange vibration, and went down this short chute over here, and then all of a sudden, boom, the gearbox just let go, and I think the ring and pinion broke or something.
So the car was uneven. You couldn't even get it back to the pits, right?
No, there was nobody back there, no squirrels.
Well, they just told me on the headset that you led 54 out of 88 laps today, so basically you dominated the race. Do they pay for that?
I don't think so. I led the wrong 54, obviously, but, again, the car ran very, very well, and it is so rough here. I'm amazed the car made it anyway, and I'm sure that didn't help matters any, but next time.
When I got up here, they kept telling me that your team had fuel problems, you know, using too much fuel. But today, you ran longer than anyone else before you made your pit stop. Have you solved some of your fuel problems?
Well, I think so, and I think we could have gone longer. But we've got this fuel light, and I don't think anybody was quite trusting it. And when I was amazed when I don't know if Mario ran out or what, but it looked like he had, and we kept going, and the light hadn't even come on yet. And I think they got a little gun shy and said, you better come in. But as I said, the car ran very, very well. I was having a little bit of brake trouble, but nothing, nothing that bad. And just sorry we couldn't make it all the way.
Well, Bobby, so am I. It was a very exciting race for everyone here at ESPN, as well as all the people in attendance. And thank you very much for an exciting race. I don't pay anything, but, you made our day.
Well, thank you very much. And you got to thank ESPN, because without them, motor racing would be back in the dark ages, I think.
Thank you very much, Bobby. Back to you, Bob.
All right. Thank you, Bobby, very much. And we'll see you again. There he is as he climbed out of his race car, all over, but a nice performance anyway by Bobby Rahal. Danny Sullivan wins here, and we'll be back with more post-race comments in just a moment. Bob Jenkins and Larry Newber back in Cleveland, Ohio, where Danny Sullivan has just won the Cleveland Budweiser Grand Prix. The margin of victory, 2 laps and 2 seconds over Chip Ganassi. I'd like to correct something that I said earlier. This is the 5th winner in 7 races. The winners this year, Tom Sneva with 2, Mario Andretti with 2, Al Unser Jr., Rick Mears, and today, Danny Sullivan.
Hey, we're talking about all the laps that Rahal led today, Bob. He'd only led 3 laps prior to coming into today, so you get an idea of how much they really have solved their problems, or at least apparently so. They've been coming on a little more strong race after race. They got into the Portland race a couple weeks ago, the last one that we saw on ESPN, with very little practice, almost none at all. Medellins, they look strong, and boy, today, you just had to feel for Bobby and that entire crew. They would have liked to have done well here. They're only about a half hour, 45 minutes from home. It would have been a nice place to win finally.
A couple of youngsters, if you will, in 2nd and 3rd today. A great drive by Chip Ganassi, and 3rd was Michael Andretti.
Well, Michael's had one of the most consistent years of anybody on the trail. He was hot on the tails of Tom Sneva in terms of the championship point standings before, a couple weeks ago when he started to drop out of races. So they apparently have that program back on track now. He was a significant number of points behind, about 36 points behind Tom, but they're actually thinking about championship. Michael thinks he has a shot at winning the championship, and he really needed the 3rd place today, and we talked about Ganassi, his first 2nd place ever.
And Rick Mears, the veteran, if you will, in 4th position here today after coming from the back of the pack.
Well, Rick did not qualify well here today. They had a problem in the last qualifying session yesterday. There's Chip Ganassi, the 2nd place finisher. We had hoped to be able to talk to Chip, but the Victory Lane celebration has gone on quite extensively here in terms of time. Back to the Mears story, he slipped off the racetrack during yesterday's final qualifying session. They had made a lot of changes on the car, and they really thought they were going to be able to move well up in the grid, but he slipped off very early on. He was a long ways away from any crew member, and they just couldn't get to Rick and get the car back on the track, so he had very little qualifying time, and I think he really paid the penalty for that in the race today, Bob.
And there is the cup that Danny Sullivan proudly displays. He has won the Budweiser Grand Prix here in Cleveland. To the left of your screen, 2nd place Chip Ganassi, and to the right of Danny Sullivan is Michael Andretti. We'll be right back. Well, we are back in Cleveland, and there are the top 3 finishers on the victory platform. There's a rundown of the top 10 finishers. Danny Sullivan, the winner. Chip Ganassi finishes 2nd, 2 laps behind. 3rd was Michael Andretti. 4th, Rick Mears. And 5th was Roberto Guerrero. 6th spot went to Derek Daly. 7th was Al Holbert. 8th was Jeff Brabham. 9th was Jacques Villeneuve. And 10th was Al Unser Sr. Those are the unofficial results of the Cleveland Budweiser Grand Prix. Well, our thanks to our pit announcers this afternoon, Gary Lee and Benny Parsons. And, of course, we'll be seeing Benny in competition 2 weeks from today in Pocono, Pennsylvania. And, of course, our assistance up here in the booth from Larry Newber. The Cleveland Budweiser Grand Prix has been brought to you by the new remote programmable VCR by RCA, and by the Ask for Motor Oil, Pennzoil, protection worth asking for, and by Pontiac. Test drive a new Pontiac at your Pontiac dealer, because at Pontiac, we build excitement. We remind you to be with us this coming Thursday at 7:30 Eastern Time, when we'll review this race and the other major auto races of this past week on ESPN's Speed Week. For now, this is Bob Jenkins saying so long, everyone, from Cleveland, Ohio.
And that's why Danny Sullivan is now standing in the Kodak winner's circle with that huge trophy and that big paycheck.